Hello, and welcome to the Love is Stronger Than Fear podcast. I'm Amy Julia Becker, and this is Season 1, Prepare Him Room, Advent Reflections. I'm so happy you're here with me to consider what happens when God shows up in the midst of the eggnog, gift wrap, holiday cards, tinsel, and let's be honest, the stress and the joy of this time of year. Thank you for listening. This is the podcast for December 15th, George Bailey and the Secret to Being Content, Part 1. The reading today is taken from Luke chapter 1, 57 through 66, from the New International Version of the Bible. When it was time for Elizabeth to have her baby, she gave birth to a son. Her neighbors and relatives heard that the Lord had shown her great mercy, and they shared her joy. On the 8th day they came to circumcise the child, and they were going to name him after his father Zechariah. But his mother spoke up and said, "No, he is to be called John." They said to her, "There is no one among your relatives who has that name." Then they made signs to his father to find out what he would like to name the child. He asked for a writing tablet, and to everyone's astonishment he wrote, "His name is John." Immediately his mouth was opened and his tongue set free, and he began to speak, praising God. All the neighbors were filled with awe, and throughout the hill country of Judea, people were talking about all these things. Everyone who heard this wondered about it, asking, "What then is this child going to be?" For the Lord's hand was with him. I was grumpy for a few years. Maybe not every day, but most days. At the core of my being, deep inside my heart, lay a stone. A slowly growing bitter stone of resentment and self-pity. I told myself it was because of my circumstances. In 2012, we moved with 3 children, 6 and under, to a new house and a new town for my husband's new job. I found myself in a cold, dark rental property while the house that came with the job was under renovation. I found myself spending hours every day consulting about fabric and paint samples and not writing. I found myself known as the wife of and the mother of, rather than as someone with my own personality, my own passions, my own abilities. I found myself yelling at the children. I found myself unwilling to pray. I've written about those years before, years marked for me by dark, cold nights and a growing friendship with wine and nachos. But I was reminded of them last week when we watched It's a Wonderful Life as a family. In case you haven't seen it, It's a Wonderful Life is the story of George Bailey, a man who grows up in a small town called Bedford Falls. George is smart and handsome and filled with hope for his future. He's going to college, and then he's going to travel the globe and become an engineer and build things and change the world. George never achieves any of his goals. He never goes to college. He never travels anywhere. He never becomes an engineer. He never builds anything. Instead, he marries a hometown girl and takes over his father's floundering business and has 4 kids. And one Christmas Eve, he comes to face with the failure of his life. He sees how pointless it all has been. He realizes that he never fulfilled his potential, and maybe he didn't even have the potential in the first place. He wishes he had never been born. Then Clarence, an angel second class, appears. Clarence shows George what the world would have been like without him in it. He shows him how small acts of kindness and self-sacrifice and duty change the world. He shows him the beauty of faithfulness in small things, like trusting a neighbor, like loaning a little money to a friend, like employing his Uncle Billy even though he is slightly incompetent. George's life seems so inconsequential, so small, until he sees how the small acts of love add up to a life that matters. His resentment and self-pity and self-loathing turn to joy. I wonder if Zechariah's life had been a little bit like George Bailey's. He had dreams for his future, but instead he ended up doing the same thing day after day. He had disappointment after disappointment when they couldn't get pregnant. He performed his rituals as a priest, but maybe it all seemed pointless. And then one day, in the midst of those everyday duties, an angel shows up. And like George Bailey, Zechariah resists that angel, but the angel perseveres. And like George Bailey, Zechariah is transformed.
Thanks for listening to Season 1 of the Love is Stronger Than Fear podcast, Prepare Him Room. For more information, including a free PDF version of Prepare Him Room, go to www.amyjuliabecker.com. While you're there, you can also find out about Amy Julia's books, White Picket Fences, Small Talk, and A Good and Perfect Gift, and when she'll be speaking in your area. Thanks again for listening, and please do consider reviewing this podcast wherever you got it, and please share it with someone else who might enjoy it.